And welcome to Hannity. And tonight, the left's foreign policy failures have made you, the American people, less safe. Now, according to a brand new Fox News poll, 84% of Americans say they're nervous about the country's ability to prevent terrorist attacks, while just 11% say they're confident. Now, these are very clear reasons why Americans are now fearful of these terror attacks. It has to do with the Obama administration's decisions over the last 7.5 years. Now, plain and simple, they have refused to confront radical Islam head-on. Now, the administration originally labeled the Fort Hood terror attack as workplace violence. Now, they changed the name of the war on terror to Overseas Contingency Operations. And instead of saying terrorism, well, they used the phrase man-caused disasters. And don't forget, the president also called ISIS the JV team. And one day before the jihadists massacred innocent people in Paris, well, the president said ISIS was contained. And that's not all. The Obama administration has made many other key foreign policy mistakes. For example, they're releasing Gitmo detainees who are going back to the battlefield to kill again. And, of course, they pulled out of Iraq prematurely, and that created a home base for ISIS. Now, the president, remember, he drew a red line with Syria in the sand, and then he did nothing. And the White House gave the #1 state sponsor of terrorism $150 billion as part of the Iranian nuclear deal. And don't forget, they also gave F-16s, tanks, and over $1 billion to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt, led then by President Mohamed Morsi. Now, the evidence is clear. The world and America are now less safe than they were almost 8 years ago. Here with reaction, 2016 presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump. By the way, a new Rasmussen national poll out today shows he is beating Hillary Clinton 43-39. Mr. Trump, good to see you. I bet that poll makes you pretty happy.
It does. I think the message is getting across both on terrorism and on trade, two very important subjects for me, and I think the message is really getting across. I was in Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. We're going up to New Hampshire. I mean, we're all over the place, and I will tell you, the crowds are incredible, Sean. They're just incredible. They want something. They want help because these people are incompetent. They don't know what they're doing, and I think they're just grossly incompetent.
Let me go through the list that I just labeled here. I mean, this reluctance, this resistance, not to say radical Islam, but man-caused disasters, workplace violence, overseas contingency, the JV team, they're contained. How could they be so wrong so often on an issue that involves the safety and security of the American people?
Well, you know, all you have to do is really, even on the bigger issues of just take a look at the Middle East, what's happened with the migration, with, you know, maybe it started with Syria. Nobody really knows where it started. The line in the sand was a disaster. That was a disaster because if you do that, you got to produce one way or the other. But you just take a look at what's going on. Iran now is in a certain way a major power, and they certainly will be with all the money that we let them have back, $150 billion. You look at the abuse of Israel. In my opinion, he's abused Israel. And I don't think there's ever been anyone close as a president who's been more anti-Israel. And I have friends who are Jewish who raise money for him, and they are just disgusted. They can't believe what's going on. So, you know, and the people of Israel are disgusted. But you just look at failure after failure, and it started, I guess it started a long time ago. But also, not only this country, allowing thousands and thousands of people into our country who many of these people are ISIS. I have no doubt about it. You know, I used to say, well, maybe. Now I have no doubt about it. But also, look at what's happened with Europe. Look at what's going on with Germany and all over Europe. Europe's never going to be the same. It's so sad at the leadership in this country. And by the way, other countries not doing so well. That's why you saw in Great Britain, you see what happened with that vote that I felt was going to happen. I had a good, you know, a good sense of the people. I felt that was going to happen.
The president and Hillary were both wrong on it and were lobbying. Even President Obama, one of his top campaigners, was actually down there trying to help Britain remain in the EU. But a lot of the things that I mentioned here, for example, you know, the Gitmo detainees that were released, or the $150 billion to Iran, or the damage done in Iraq and Syria, I don't see that that damage can be undone. If you become president, what do you do to solve those problems that they've now handed off to you?
Well, the Gitmo detainees, they say, are back. Most of them are back fighting again. So, you know, what are we doing? I mean, why are we doing it? And as you know, these are the people that they want the most. They want them back so badly. You almost say, why are we doing this? And they're back out fighting. Why wouldn't we do it maybe after this all ends, if it ever ends? I mean, the way it's going right now, it's just getting worse. And ISIS is recruiting like crazy because these young kids that, you know, they're using the internet, and they're being recruited right off the internet, and they respect ISIS because it looks like ISIS to the outside world. It looks like ISIS is beating us and beating us badly. They need a big defeat because they are using that internet to recruit people from many countries, not just our country, and it's only going to get worse. And, you know, I watched Hillary Clinton. For years and years, it's the same thing. We're going to get along with our allies. We're going to work with our allies. Nice and soft, nice and easy. Nothing's going to happen. And don't forget, this whole ISIS thing really started during her term. I mean,
well,
when
the
she
Iranian
was
deal
Secretary of
did
State,
too, and releasing Gitmo detainees also. She was a part of all those decisions. She never spoke out against any one of them, which makes the world less safe. I want to get
Sean,
your...
forgetting about me, just forgetting about me. If she ever got in, she would be such a bad president. She would be so bad. And remember, unrelated, but maybe related in a very, you know, in a certain way, but unrelated, Supreme Court justices. So important. Supreme Court justices. But if Hillary ever got in, she would be so bad. It would be so
listen,
sad.
This is a choice election. I'm not disagreeing with you. She's not going to build a wall. She's going to appoint liberal justices. She doesn't want coal to expand. You have told me you want to expand coal and fracking and drilling and nuclear technology and new technology. Those are huge differences. Also on the economy, foreign policy, building up our nation's military, fixing the VA. I think it's a choice election in many ways. You know, the big attack that they're making against you...
Very big on trade, though, Sean. I have to tell
understand.
you, so big on trade. You know, my message has been really from the beginning trade. And you talk about coal, I really talk about the miners. The miners have just been decimated in this country. These are great people, and they want to be miners. They say, why don't you move? Why don't you go to a different place? Why don't you move? Like in West Virginia, where I think I have a 25-point lead, 29-point lead. But I speak to the miners, and I see the miners. I was with them the other day. They don't want to move. They love what they do. They're so, like, you like what you like what you do. I like what I do. They love what they do. That's what they want to do. They want to be miners.
High-paying jobs. Many of these are high-paying jobs, and she talked about putting all of them out of the work and all the companies out of work. Here's what I want to ask you.
She wants to put all of them out, and she wants to put all of them out of work. Now, she said that 5 weeks before she ends up going to West Virginia. She talks to them, and she got wiped out there. But she's going to get wiped out in a lot of places. And it's not only the miners. It's steel. She doesn't want steel. Our steel is being destroyed, the industry, by China, mostly by China. We have so many industries that are absolutely on their last legs right now. And it could be turned around so easily and so fast if we're smart.
It seems like there's a coordinated attack. The Democrats, Hillary Clinton, and President Obama. And it keeps going back. They don't want to talk a lot about issues or the foreign policy record or the record on the economy, but it's always about Donald Trump and Donald Trump's temperament. I had a chance earlier this week to interview Gary Byrne. He's the former Secret Service officer that was outside the Oval Office when the Clintons were in the White House. Here's part of what he said.
I hope someday that it does make a difference. I mean, if Mrs. Clinton ends up being the President of the United States, then she's our president and she's the commander-in-chief, and it is what it is. But if she did become the president without me speaking the truth, I'm not sure I could deal with that. People need to know this is serious, and her behavior is appalling. She's two different people. I feel so strongly that people need to know the real Hillary Clinton and how dangerous she is in her behavior. She is not a leader. She is not a leader.
She doesn't have the temperament for the job.
She doesn't have the temperament. She didn't have the temperament to handle the social office when she was First Lady. She does not have the temperament.
She's dishonest.
She's dishonest. She habitually lies. Anybody that, you know, can separate themselves from their politics and review her behavior over the last 15 years.
You're going to be accused of this being political.
Absolutely. I'm sure I will be. I have been already.
And what's your answer?
It's not. It's got nothing to do with politics.
Now, he described a woman that threw a Bible at the head of a Secret Service officer, told him to F off, told him to go to hell, a person that threw a vase across the residence, gave Bill Clinton a black eye. They question your temperament. Here's firsthand experience, and the media seems to ignore it. Your reaction?
Well, I saw that interview, and I guess I'm not that surprised. I mean, I understand what I'm dealing with here, and I'm also dealing with a media that's extremely unfriendly, and they'll probably won't pick very much of it up, if anything. But I actually watched that, and I said to myself, and you know, again, not being too surprised, but I said to myself, hey, that's the way it would be. I mean, that's the way it would be. And she brings up temperament because she understands temperament, because her temperament is terrible. And, you know, I'll tell you what, in one way, we need a different temperament in the White House, because we have had these weak leaders that let the world take advantage of us. They let ISIS continue to go forward, and it's like, you know, they don't want to do what they have to do, like get rid of their source of wealth, which is largely oil. And also, by the way, coming in from many of our so-called allies, tremendous wealth goes to, as you know, goes to ISIS through our allies, where they're paying ISIS money, which is horrible if you think about it. It's horrible. I guess it's almost like protection money. They're paying for protection. But you know, we need a strong temperament. We need somebody that's going to get in there, knock the hell out of ISIS, get ISIS out. And there are ways to do it, and we can do it quickly. But we don't seem to want to do it. And we have a president that won't use the term radical Islamic terrorism. And he comes up with all, at the beginning of his show, I heard you reading different names that nobody's ever even heard about. They won't use radical Islam. They won't talk about it. And I shamed her into do it, but so far, you know, she hasn't done it yet. She said, I would do it if I needed to do it, but she hasn't done it yet.
Good
but
point.
If you don't say what it is, if you don't talk about radical Islam, which is what it is, then, Sean, it's, you're never going to solve the problem.
But isn't not a lot of it connected to, okay, she got up to $25 million from Saudi Arabia, $10 million from Saudi Arabia for the Clinton Foundation. I mean, they treat women horribly. Women can't drive. Women are told how to dress. Women are given permission to go to school or work. Gays are executed under Saudi law and some of the other countries. You know, they wouldn't let you build a Christian church or a Jewish temple. And so they persecute gays and lesbians, women, Christians and Jews. She takes their money, and nobody in the media seems to focus on that either, and claims to be the champion of those groups' rights.
She should give that money back, all of it. She should give all of that money back. That money should go back where it came from. You have not only Saudi Arabia, you have many countries where, I mean, they execute gays, they enslave women, and she's taking money and nobody talks about it. It's sort of an amazing thing. Can you imagine if I took that money?
Yeah,
nah.
Yeah, I think it would be a pretty big
Wouldn't
issue.
be pretty.
Wouldn't be pretty. I think that, and by
but
the way,
she should really,
if it said on your teleprompter, sigh, and you read sigh when you were supposed to go, ah, I mean, yeah. Did you see that? Let me play the video for you, because it's pretty entertaining.
So all he can do is try to distract us. That's even why he's attacking my faith. Sigh.
Can you imagine if you're the one, she's that programmed that they actually put in how she should act after she gives a line. I don't know what if you did it, it would be a bigger story.
They thought it was so cute. It was so wonderful. They were saying, oh, isn't that cute? Isn't that nice? Isn't that wonderful? Can you imagine if I did it? I never noticed that on teleprompter. When I do a teleprompter, they don't put sigh. You're supposed to be who you are. Can you imagine sigh? And let me tell you, I never attacked her faith. A question was asked about her faith. I said, I know nothing about it. I wasn't saying that in a good way or bad. I really know nothing about her faith.
That's an honest answer.
I would never attack her faith.
When we come back, I want to ask you about...
I just want to let that be clear.
I want to ask you